Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Omri, and today the deck we're going to be playing is Mono Black Shadow. This is a Mono Black deck built around dealing itself damage, and then its opponents. And I guess we'll just start from the top. So the namesake card for this deck, Scourge of the Skyclaves, is modeled after an old card called Death Shadow, which is only legal in older formats, like Modern and so forth. And Death Shadow itself is a 1 mana 13/13 that gets -X/-X, where X is your life total. So, really powerful card, huge downside. And the decks that played it played a bunch of cards that lowered its own life total and could take advantage of a big creature. Now, Scourge of the Skyclaves is an interesting version of this card. It's 2 mana, so that's already slightly worse, but it's a 20/20 base stats. Scourge of the Skyclave's power and toughness are each equal to 20 minus the highest life total among players. So the real downside of this card is that it counts both players. So even if you bring your own life total down, which is honestly the easy part, and we'll get to how we can do that later, you'll still have to deal your opponent damage. So this has to go into an aggressive deck that can start playing the game on turn 1 and beating down on turn 1. So there's also some extra tech on this card. It's got Kicker for 5, and if this spell was kicked, each player loses half their life rounded up. But really, that's just flavor text because the set's mechanic was Kicker. That's not super important. It's going to come up very rarely. The most important card is this is a 2 mana 20/20 minus the highest life total among players. So first off, this deck is just an aggressive deck. It has to be an aggressive deck to play Scourge of the Skyclaves. So it's got all the things that Mono Black aggro has. Huge beaters and Spawn of Mayhem, early cheap efficient 1-drops like Knight of the Ebon Legion, amazing disruption in the form of Thought Seize. It's got Scrappy Scoundrel at the back of 2-drop, and a whole bunch of Savannah lines, as in like 1 mana 2/1s, left to back it up. And it's also got 4 Demonic Embrace. Now, Demonic Embrace is particularly good with Scourge of the Skyclave, just to give it flying, because Scourge of the Skyclaves is big, but it doesn't have evasion, so opponent can just chump it or whatever. That's not good. So we want some way to get Scourge of the Skyclaves into this guy, and Demonic Embrace is a great way to do that. Demonic Embrace is also really good with a bunch of other cards. Like if you just slap it on a Dread Wanderer, you're boom, just hitting for 5. That's great. Put it on Knight of the Ebon Legion, it'll be proccing itself every turn without you having to pay mana. So Demonic Embrace is another very powerful card in this deck, and it also synergizes a little bit because this card ability, good with all these recursive 1-drops. Dread Wanderer, Gutter Bones, they all come back. It's also good with Scrappy Scrounger. And also, you have to pay 3 lives. That's the first way this deck has to lose life. And it's honestly one of the less impactful ones, but I just want to talk about Demonic Embrace first. So past that, most of the ways this deck is losing life is in the mana base. So, first things first, Academy's Awakening is actually a land. It's going to be a land 90% of the time, and boom, you can pay 3 life. That's a lot of life. That puts you to 17. If you can play like a Knight of the Ebon Legion on turn 1, and then use Academy's Awakening on turn 2, boom, you're at a 17, you hit your opponent, you can play a Scourge. If you play a 2/1, you can play a 2/2 Scourge. And you've also got Shocklands in a monocolor deck, which is honestly something really, really cool about this deck, is it gets to play Shocklands, even though they're strictly worse than swamps. In this deck, it's either a swamp tapped or a swamp untapped, you pay 2 life. That's good. You get to pay life. That's what this deck wants to do. So we've got 6 total because we don't want literally every single land in this deck to deal us damage. We do actually have to avoid not dying at times. That may surprise you, but it's true. We've got 7 swamps, and we've also got 3 Castle Lockling to lose life, and probably the most important way to lose life in this deck, if near Deadlands. If near Deadlands, you can either tap it for colorless or pay 1 life and add black. And even if you're not casting a spell that needs black, you can always just pay the 1 life. And this is a great way not only to repeatedly reduce your life total, so we can actually reduce it to a lot more than any of the other cards. It can also control how much you reduce your life total. Sometimes you want to go down only 1 life. Sometimes you want to go down 4. Maybe you're not sure how low you want to go, so you'll play this on the turn 2, and then on turn 4, if you need to lose life, you can start losing life. You can play this on turn 2 and start losing life if you don't see a mountain first, because you don't want to lose life against mono red, things like that. So if you're Deadlands, it's a great way to control your life total and bring it down pretty much a lot more than a lot of the other cards in this deck. And past that, we've also got Thought Seize, which loses us life, and that's pretty much it. This deck occasionally runs Murderous Rider, but I've eschewed that in favor of Blood Chief's Thirst, which is a lot more efficient, though not when you're paying 4 mana to kick it. And you may ask, why are you playing Bloodchief's Thirst in a format with Fatal Push? Fatal Push has to be better. It's not. Fatal Push is actually much worse in this deck because this deck does not have any good ways of triggering a Vault. The only way it has to trigger a Vault is really just to trade off in combat, and that's just not great. So Bloodchief's Thirst does pretty much the same thing. The second thing is this deck doesn't really play at instant speed, so being able to do it at your opponent's end step, really the only thing at instant speed in this deck is like Scrap Heap Scrounger Reanimation, or like activating Castle Lock Lane, so that's also not a huge upside. And Bloodchief's Thirst has the upside of killing big creatures. It can kill an Uro more easily than Fatal Push can. It can kill a Doom Whisper, an Elder Gargoth, it can kill a Nissa. So Bloodchief's Thirst, the removal spell of choice for this deck, and a very, very solid one. Now, there are also a couple extra payoffs for losing life in this deck. Spawn of Mayhem triggers at the end of your turn, if you have 10 or less life, or your upkeep rather, if you have less than 10 life, after pinging each player for 1, you can put a counter on it. Pretty minor, but it can definitely add up, so that's another payoff for getting a life total low. And Knight of the Ebb Legion. Well, Knight of the Ebb Legion, how is that a life loss payoff, you might say? Well, if you read carefully, at the beginning of your end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Knight of the Ebb Legion. So basically, if you are the person who lost 4 life, Knight of the Ebb Legion will still grow. And you can start doing that on turn 2, thanks to like Agadeem's Awakening plus If Near Deadlands, thanks to Thoughtseize plus a Shockland. So you can start growing the Knight of the Ebb Legion really, really early and just keep going and snowballing with it, even when you're not dealing your opponent that much damage, because dealing your opponent damage on turn 2, more than like 1 or 2, is really hard without a haste creature, and this deck does not have any haste creatures. So that's the main deck. Let's move on to the sideboard now. We've got some more hand disruption in the form of Duress, which is cheaper, and Agonizing Remorse, which can exile and hit creatures. It's also very good against Uro, since the aforementioned exile means that Uro can't come back. 2 Grafdigger's Cages against Goblins, John Sack, all these combo decks. A very, very solid card in the current historic metagame. There are a lot of decks that just straight up lose to it. 2 Heartless Sack for a little bit extra removal. 2 Noxious Grasps against Uros and Nieces and Crosses and all these green and white cards. 2 Witch's Vengeance against Goblins and other tribal decks, or decks that we just really need removal against. And 3 Phyrexian Obliterator against Gruul aggro. They have a really, really hard time getting through this massive body. Even with Embercleave, I just block the creature they've Embercleaved, and they're going to have to sacrifice their whole board before they even get to normal strike damage. The first strike is going to bam and make them sack all their stuff. So Phyrexian Obliterator, very good against Gruul. Can also come in against some other aggro decks. Okay, so that's the deck. Let's get into some games. Alright, match number 1 against Katuo079595. So, playing against a phone number, and this actually looks pretty solid. So, I'll keep it. I'm going to go turn 1 Thoughtseize off of Overgrown Tomb, and then probably just curve into a Scrap Heap Scrounger, try to hit my 3rd land for Spawn of Mayhem. This hand is solid. Not a hand that I'd ever mulligan, but it's not the best hand I've ever seen either. Now, I'm going to have to take Bonecrusher Giant here, since that card is just insanely good against me. Castle Lock Lane is a good draw. And I don't actually want to be paying too much life here, because Gruul aggro will start pressuring me. What I want to do is try to take over the game with this early Spawn of Mayhem. So being able to take my opponent's Bonecrusher Giant is actually pretty huge here, as this means that I can land the Spawn of Mayhem and just start pressuring my opponent. Now they can play Gruul Spellbreaker, but they can't really attack with it, or else they're just facing down too much damage. So they have to make a 4/4. That's fine though. Now I get to hit them with Spawn. I get to attack with Spawn, hit them for 4 more, and then I get to just keep playing stuff. And my Spawn's going to start growing pretty soon as well. So now my opponent's attacks are bad. They're taking damage in the air. They certainly could get out of this. They just need to hit good off Coco and then like kill me with an Embercleave. But I think I'm in a good spot at the moment. It does very much depend on what my opponent has. Questing Beast. Okay, that's a problem. That is definitely a problem. Unfortunately, there's no way it's correct to block here. Well, on second thought, I'm actually not in a good spot, because I'm Huh, I guess I just passed the turn here, since I need to have this Spawn of Mayhem up to block Ghoul Spellbreaker and Knight of the Legion pumped to block this Questing Beast. I can't Thought Seize, or else I just die to this Ramanop Ruins, and... well... I guess I'm dead then. Yeah, I take damage on my upkeep, and then my opponent just kills me with Ramanop. Huh. Questing Beast was pretty brutal there. Unfortunately, I just had to pay so much life early in the game that, I got punished for it. Well, either way, this matchup's not amazing since, again, I'm dealing myself damage, my opponent's dealing myself damage. Not super great. That being said, we do have a lot of things post-sideboarding to bring in. So, Phyrexian Obliterator, all these, we can cut 2 Aghanim Awakenings, we can cut Scrappy Scrounger. Actually, no, we're cutting all 4 Thought Seizes, so we don't need to actually cut Aghanim Awakening. And then, I guess we can bring in like a Witch's Vengeance. Is there anything else that's actively bad here? No, this looks good. Okay, the one of Witch's Vengeance, just because I need something to put in my deck, it's going to be fine. My opponent has some similar creature types, especially if they curve out with like Burning Tree Emissary, but it's not going to be the best card in my deck against them, so I don't need any more than just one, especially since they're bringing in already so much extra removal. This hand looks pretty good. I'm going to be taking a lot of damage off these if near dead lands, unfortunately, but I have removal, I have an early start, and I have a Phyrexian Obliterator. I also have this Demonic Embrace, which could pose problems for my opponent as well. Oh, that's awkward. So I think I'm actually going to let the Llanowar Elves live, since my opponent's probably going to just, if they just tap out for a 3-drop here, that's good for me. Whereas if they just play a 2-drop next turn, probably going to be brick walled by it anyway. Yeah. And then now they play Ghoul Spellbreaker, and now I can either Heartless Act the Ghoul Spellbreaker, or actually, I think I can just race my opponent. I just do this. I have to take a lot of damage here, but now I have this Heartless Act, and then potentially Phyrexian Obliterator the turn after that. The only problem is I'll have to pay a lot of life for it, but I think I might just be able to win the game in 2 turns with the Knight of the Legion. It's gonna be close though. So now I have an interesting decision here to make. So I 100% know I am attacking with Knight of the Legion here, since I need to threaten lethal next turn. And the only thing is, do I think that playing Spawn of Mayhem or Heartless Acting Ghoul Spellbreaker will give me a better chance to win? So I actually need to consider this. If they have Questing Beast, then I would rather, yeah, then I'd rather just play the Spawn of Mayhem, because that would let me win. But if they had a Spawn of Mayhem, they would have played it last turn, so they don't have, or if they had a Questing Beast. If they have an Ember Cleave, then Heartless Acting means that I don't die to it. And if they have another Ghoul Spellbreaker, then I do die to that, but I die to that either way. Is that correct? No. So if they have a second Ghoul Spellbreaker, but again, I think their hand's just Collected Company. And if they have Collected Company, though I guess if I play Spawn of Mayhem, do I lose to Embercleave? Yes, I do. Wait, no. Okay, yeah, no, I have to play Spawn of Mayhem since I don't beat Embercleave either way, and this makes me lose to less things off Collected Company. So yeah, well, come on. And I can only take 3 damage here. I can't take 4 damage unless I trade off the Spawn of Mayhem here, so... Ooh. Yeah. Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah, I go to 3 and just die to my Spawn of Mayhem again. What a way to lose the game. Yikes. Spawn of Mayhem. The worst card in my deck. That's not good. Okay, my opponent just got off to a better start than me, and it's just overall a pretty bad matchup, because I had to take so much damage off my lands there. It wasn't even funny. Like, had I just been playing all swamps, I would have won that game easily. That being said, we'll just go straight into the next game. This deck's pretty fast, so we'll be able to do that straight away. Though, I guess a deck being fast has no effect on queue times, but... What? Gandalf will pipe you. Okay, Mr. Gandalf. Poor Frodo. That's all I can say. That's all I'm willing to say on the matter either. They're playing Lurrus, so I expect this to either be Auras, in which case I am very likely to just lose, or Rakdos Arcanist, in which case I am very likely to just lose, or it's really it. Like, technically they could be on some sort of breach combo, but I haven't seen that for months in Historic, so I sincerely doubt it's that. My opponent's name is just utterly out of nowhere. I don't even know what to say. Okay, well, looks like they're deciding on what to send back. Malta 6, pretty good sign for me. Though, of course, Auras is the deck that tends to mulligan a lot, so... Yeah, I mean, I have the Black Chief's Thirst, but any sort of decent start with, like what I would actually like to see least. What I would like to see least here is Selfless Savior. Please don't do it to me, opponent. Okay, well, I did call it. I did, in fact, call it. That's pretty unfortunate. Though I guess if my opponent doesn't have something too good, I am bringing the beats pretty quickly here. Probably just gonna slap a Demonic Embrace on Knight of the Legion and just hit the spacebar, hope I win, you know? Not much else I can do unless I draw another Blood Chief's Thirst. Oh, really? Okay, well that's an incredibly good sign for me. My opponent just doing nothing there. That means that I'm probably actually going to win this race. Probably, maybe. But it also means that they probably don't have another untapped land, so if their turn is just play Core Spirit Dancer here, since this is probably Black-White Auras, going to 10 even, yikes. Yeah, then I'm probably in a good spot. Plays Srom. And a Kai's Ghost form. That's fine. Does Kai's Ghost form go to hand or battlefield? Okay, so what am I doing here? Probably just pumping Knight of the Legion, playing another Knight of the Legion after that, because that makes everything lethal and puts my opponent low. And I don't think there's actually I don't think trying to trade off Red Wanderer would be good, because if the game drags on to where I'm trying to outgrind Kai's Ghost form, then I've just lost already. So I think just hoping that I win next turn is pretty good, because they have to have like cartouche. They have to like double cartouche, like a creature plus a cartouche. Okay, I mean that's a start, but now they have to have like another removal spell or blocker and angelic gift or whatever, the flying enchantment. Yeah, angelic gift. 2 mana, gains flying, draws a card, and yeah, I mean that's not it. So pretty sure my opponent can't win here without Fatal Push. Exactly, Fatal Push would get me, I guess. Okay, well, we got there game 1, and it's a little bit surprising because this matchup is quite bad. Though at least post-boarding we do get a lot of cards. So what am I cutting here? Probably Scrapheap Scavenger, since I want to be casting a removal spell on turn 2 instead. Witch's Vengeance is too slow, especially on the draw. I don't want Graphic Cage just against Lurrus. Also, Graphic Cage does shut off some of my own things, so I only want to bring it in when it's good. I don't think I want Duress. Agonizing Remorse is again too slow on the draw, though I might want it on the play because that can hit a Core Spirit Dancer. And I'll just cut the Scrapheap Scavengers here because they're pretty much the least efficient thing here in terms of damage, and a little bit awkward on turn 2 when you'll run like that. There's also an argument trying to cut Scourge of the Skyclave since they do have some lifelink creatures, but I think that if they're like later in the game gaining life above 20, I've probably already lost the game, so I need to play as if that won't happen, because if they've just got a massive what's the card? The 1 mana 1/2 lifelink thingamabob, you know, and they're just like beating me down with that, then the game's probably over and I shouldn't plan for that anyway. Anyway, game 2, on the draw, so we're going to have to really try very hard not to get piped by Gandalf. It's actually not something that's on my agenda at the moment, so we're going to try to avoid that, and this is a very good hand to avoid that, I will say. Like, I've never actually needed to avoid getting piped by Gandalf, but if I ever were, then this is certainly the hand I would choose. Ooh, okay, so now if they play a Core Spirit Dancer, I get to Bloodchief's Thirst It and Thoughtseize them, and then Grow Night Legion as well. Rude. I say. Very rude, opponent. How rude. Okay, well, we're gonna grab the Heliod's Punishment, because if I get to get damage, then I get to just jam the Scourge of the Skyclaves, and that has to be pretty good. Has to be just absolutely amazing. Just a land. Lures to hand. Well, I mean, on second thought, there's no way I'm letting my opponent cast Lures and then put a Kai's Ghost form on it. Absolutely no way. I'm not particularly interested in losing this game. And yeah, now I just have to be in a pretty good spot here. If they draw a Core Spirit Dancer, I'm going to be in a little bit of trouble if I don't draw land. But if they let me untap here, then the game's probably over. Yeah, I mean, it's decent, right? They get to reduce my clock, but now I just get to hold up removal, and it's going to be very hard for them to beat. Actually, this is tough. Here's the thing. I could just play Scourge of the Skyclaves. That increases my clock by several turns. It's probably good. Yeah, it increases my clock so much. The only way I get punished is if they draw a Core Spirit Dancer or a SRAM here. And I don't even get punished that hard. And if they don't have it this turn, then I'm in a good spot. And I only have one instant speed removal anyway, because this Bloodchief Thirst is a sorcery. So them drawing a second one still screw me, even if I played around it really conservatively. And they would get to draw cards. So yeah, I'm just going to go for this. And the thing is, like, yeah, now they could play one and they have to remove it twice, but honestly, don't think that's going to be the end of the world here. And, well, my opponent's dead next turn, so that's good. The only problem is, actually, well, hold on. The only problem here is if I use my Noxious Grasp, I don't win, because then I gain a life. Score of the Skyclaves goes to a 7/7 because I'm on 13. Yeah, it's not looking good for my opponent. Angelic Gift, your opponent's creature. Not really what my opponent was hoping to do with their mana, I'd assume. And I'm going to let that resolve because Noxious Grasp is just so bad. Like, why would you ever play a card that actively prevents you from winning? Yeah, that's actually pretty funny. But yeah, we'll be able to somehow just 2-0 an Aura's player, which should be a very good matchup for them. But I just drew on my removal when I need it, and I mean, yeah, I won't complain. I will very much take it. Okay, now we're just going to send in the creatures in the red zone. That's 10 damage exactly, and it's match number 2, just like that. So, match number 3 is going to be coming up in just a second. Okay, match number 3 against Chantal. And, look who's spamming their pet already. Well, they've got to decide who's going first or second. Wait, hold on. Wait, their pet did that on their own. They can't click their pet right now. Hold on, that's actually pretty sick. Okay, okay, well, starting the game off right away with a disadvantage since my opponent's pet is apparently way cooler than mine. So I guess we're just gonna outdraw them. Looks like my opponent's on Rakdos sack here though. Could be Jund, could be Rakdos. And there's the Golden Familiar. Yikes, that... The real big problem with Cauldron Familiar is it gains my opponent life, which is not good when I'm trying to lower their life total. And it's especially not good when you consider the fact that now I have to make a decision about which 2-drop I want to play, and I can't play Scourge of the Skyclaves because another Cauldron Familiar or Witch's Oven would mean that it dies. My opponent goes to 20, it's a 0-0, and 0-0s go to the graveyard pretty quickly, as a general rule. Well, still remains to be seen what my opponent has here. If I hit my land drop, then I'll be able to land this Bloodchief's Thirst at some point. Okay, it's just a Woe Strider. This is not good though. This matchup is quite bad because my opponent has a lot of life gain and a lot of ways to kill creatures. Clan Firstborn, Mayhem Devil. The real best card in this matchup is Mayhem Devil. Not Mayhem Devil. It's the best card in their deck against me. Mayhem Devil is, but the other Mayhem. Why am I struggling? Mayhem. Spawn of Mayhem, because it's a big, flying, trampling threat that deals a lot of damage, and it cannot be Claim of Firstborn. It's got 4 toughness, so it's pretty safe against Devil in most cases. So that's a very good card against my opponent. My opponent just chose to take the damage here, which is really good for me, because it means that my Scourge of the Skyclaves gets better. Now I can make it a 4/4 as soon as I need to. And I think what I'm going to do here, actually, is just Shockland this Overguard Tomb. Since I can pay for Aghanim next turn if I want to, but there's no reason for me to do so yet. And I'm just going to Bloodchief's Thirst this Woe Strider, because this means that my attacks are amazing. Because now, like, I can attack with Vicious Conquistador, or they can't trade anywhere, or they can trade, but they can't make a profitable block anywhere, and it also reduces the amount of creatures on their board, but they have 2 Priests of Forgotten Gods, so trying to kill one of those I don't think will be super useful. The only downside here is I don't get to play another Scourge, but I think it's worth it to just take a single turn off to do that. Especially since if I end up trading off my Gutter Bones next turn, I can fit that into the turn as well or something, so I think that's going to be pretty good. Well, I guess I'll lose. I need to hit a... I need to give Scourge of the Skyclaves evasion real quick, or this game's just going to be straight up over. And if my opponent plays this correctly, then it could just be straight up over right now, though. Yeah, okay, so let me explain what my opponent did wrong first off. Or at least, I think they could have played this better. Yeah, so what they could have done is, in response to their own Priest of Forgotten Gods trigger, they could have activated Witch's Oven. It's 2 triggers. They could have pinged. I guess that wouldn't have done exactly what they need to, but if they had some way to deal 1 extra damage, they could have gotten to kill all of my creatures and then made me sacrifice Scourge of the Skyclaves. That being said, this is still pretty bad, but it's interesting that my opponent is doing it main phase. I'm not exactly sure why. Yeah, they're just going to ping my face. I mean, they could have done that at a different point, but I guess it's not really going to matter most likely here. The one thing is, I can have 2 lethal threats. Now, they block with Cauldron Familiar. That's fine, but I get to cast Scourge of the Skyclaves, Vicious Conquistador, reanimate Scrapheap Scourge on my end step. Now, Vicious Conquistador will ping 1, meaning that these Scourge of the Skyclaves will remain lethal threats, even if my opponent gains a single life, and I'll have this Scrapheap Scourge as well. Then I can activate this, if near Deadlands, to potentially make them have 1 less blocker, so I could end up forcing them to chump block with their Mayhem Devil. Nope. No, and I could just be dead here. No, I'm not dead here, but unfortunately, this means that my opponent gets to gain life, so the Scourge of the Skyclaves are no longer lethal threats. So I'm not sure if I can force a chump block very easily here. Or maybe I can with the Scrap Heap Scoundrel, I guess. Yeah. I guess I can kill the Scrap Heap Scoundrel though, so it doesn't really work. No. I can force a jump block with the Safe Near Deadlands. Wait, and then I need to avoid dying, but I need to kill my Scrap Heap Scoundrel, so this actually ends up fine. Am I actually gonna win this game? Surely not, right? I mean, but they can't really escape woes. Shoot, I guess they can. Hold on. Okay, I actually need to think here, because this is a hard spot. So if I just straight up attack here, then they block one Scourge of the Skyclaves, ping, down my Scrap Heap Scoundrel, take their beat, and just win the game. So I need to do something else. The only thing I have to do is if near Deadland. So I 100% know that this is the best play I can make. And now it just remains to be seen if it actually gets me anywhere. The problem is they get a ping off of it. So they're going to be able to kill my Scrap Heap Scoundrel and still have a little bit of extra damage left over. Hold on. No, wait. No. This doesn't work. Okay, never mind. I'm still super dead here. Yeah, no, this doesn't do it, I don't think. They go to 4, but now they just have lethal. But they should have, yeah, they have lethal with Ghost Shatter. Okay. Ooh, yikes. Just a little bit off there. I'm gonna make my opponent actually do the lethal because there is a non-zero chance that they miss it. But yeah, if they escape Ghost Shatter here, all they need to do now is just sacrifice either the Ghost Shatter or their Mayhem Devil to deal me lethal here. It's very unfortunate. At least we got to see two mana 16/16s. Yeah. And that's the game. Well, that was unfortunate. Just a little bit off there. But I guess we have game 2 to redeem ourselves. And actually, Phyrexian Obliterator, good in this matchup as well. So we get to bring Raptor's Cages as well. Cut all our Thought Seizes. Cut our Scrap Heap Scoundrels, at least some of them. And what else am I bringing in? Definitely Heartless Act. I definitely want Heartless Act and don't want Noxious Grasp. I can cut more Scrap Heap Scoundrels, I guess. Yeah, and then I have a decent amount of removal for their stuff. A little bit awkward that Bloodchief's Thirst doesn't line up super well against what they've got. I wonder if I want Witch's Vengeance. Probably not. It kills like 2 Mayhem Devils if they ever have them, but I'm probably just dead the turn 2 Mayhem Devils come down anyway, so not much I can really do there, I don't think. Alright, let's get a good hand for game 2. I'm down to Graphic Cage my opponent. Seems like a fun thing to do. Well, I mean, I guess we get another try at drawing Grafter's Cage. I mean, I guess we have another try to draw Grafter's Cage. Okay. Well, this was a fast match. That's somewhat unfortunate. But it looks like I'm not going to do too well here if my opponent puts up any sort of opposition. I need to draw incredibly well to get out of this. I might as well trade for the Cauldron Familiar because there's a chance they don't block, and I don't think that's correct not to block, but maybe if they have an oven, then they really want their Cauldron Familiar. I guess they don't. Either way, I need to draw land and get on Spectacle, and then I have a non-zero chance to just ride this 4/4 to victory. Yeah, seems like that was the case. Well, yeah. Yikes. Yeah, now I don't have a way to actually deal them any damage if they block, and they definitely should block here. Nor did I draw land, to be fair, so yeah, I'll still make the attack. Like, the only way I win this game is if they stumble horribly. And... maybe it wasn't right, because I guess if they don't have anything, I still don't get to activate Spectacle next turn, because I have the food. So maybe that was wrong, but, I am, like, any relevant card away from just scooping the game, because there's no way, I get out of this one, and then maybe I can just fit a 4th match into the video. Yeah, probably just gonna be a Mayhem Devil here or something. Claim the Firstborn, let's see what their follow-up is, a Dreadword Butcher. Fair enough. Well, Jund Sacrifice is just going to be an awful matchup. Funnily enough, we've actually faced all the bad matchups for this deck. Gruul Aggro, probably like a 40-60 matchup. Aura's, really bad matchup because you just don't have enough removal to beat them consistently. And then Jund Sacrifice, just an atrocious matchup. They have removal, they have life gain. Like, if I had to build a deck to beat this deck, I would build Jund Sacrifice. Yeah, and really what I want to play against is Sultai. And funnily enough, I'm not actually having very much success against playing the best deck, which is a little bit weird, but I don't know, maybe Mr. Angelic Demise will. Oh no, it's Jeskai. I bet you right now, this is Lotus Field. And if I'm wrong, then I'm going to look not very smart. But if I'm right, and I am right, then I'm going to look very smart. And I do like looking smart, to be fair. Yeah, I'm 100% sure. Oh yeah. They're playing Blood Sun. They're playing Yorion because they've got Omen of the Sea. Oh yeah, I know exactly what's going on my opponent's deck. I'm about to get Deafening Clarion so hard. Okay, no Deafening Clarion. No Deafening Clarion. That's good. I do appreciate that. And you're going to jam the Spawn of Mayhem because next turn, if they don't have anything, or next turn if they Wrath me, ooh, Absorb. Okay, that's a little bit annoying. But I was going to say next turn if they Wrath me, then I have a good turn with Scrappy Scavenger. Boom, there it is. Please do not have a Lotus Field. I will lose the game if there is a Lotus Field. Okay, we got there. Didn't have it. Just the easiest game of my life. Okay, well, let's play this in. Didn't even have to pay life, which is not necessarily an upside because my opponent's deck doesn't punish me for paying life, so it's actually sort of a downside, and it's very much an upside for them. Oh no. Oh no. What do you mean, Anger of the Gods? Why? Why would you do this to me? Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, that's... Yeah. Anger of the Gods. Yeah, I will say, I did not see that one coming. I probably should have, but I didn't. The good news is I probably wasn't beating a hand with Tails in anyway, because I could just stifle my animation and then they just take over with Narset, but yeah, I mean, Anger of the Gods, like, I was expecting some sort of Deafening Clarion, forgot that Historic actually has a better version of that card. All my stuff gets exiled. I was going to have such a good turn. I was going to reanimate 2 Scrappy Scavengers on end step and then force lethal with this Demonic Embrace. Instead, I'm just watching my opponent play their Narsats. Yeah, and there's their Teferi. Well, this game is well and truly over. Congratulations, opponent. You certainly earned it. Well, we have some sideboarding games to win, it seems. And some very good cards to win, though, that's for sure. Do I want Noctis Grasp to beat Teferi? Probably not, since I have so much hand disruption. And down with 8 pieces of hand disruption, knowing what's going on in my opponent's hand, even like disregarding the fact that I get to discard a card, knowing when to play around a Wrath or when to play in to beat a Teferi, it's going to be very important. So if I could just turn 1 Duress, turn 2 Agonizing Remorse, something like that, have a Thoughtseize, that's just my ideal hand. I don't want like 15 pieces of hand disruption because then I'm just gonna forget to like win the game. But I do want at least 1 or 2. So that's why I've got the full 8 post board. Full 8, I mean, I could have up to like 12, even more with like other random pieces, but yeah. Unfortunately, there's no way I ever mulligan this hand. It's just too good. It's got the curve, so we're gonna have to just hope to draw Thoughtseize off the top. Thoughtseize off the top would be absolutely nuts, though. It would let me pump my Knight of the Ebon Legion. It would just be absolutely insane. Though luckily, I do actually get to play around a 3 damage board wipe on turn 3 because I got a 4/4. Hell yeah. Yeah. I'll play Spawn of Mayhem here. If my opponent has it, then it's gonna kill 2 of my creatures. It's gonna be good, but it's not gonna end the game. And now I get to slap a Demonic Embrace on, and let's just say, if my opponent does not have a Wrath here, then they lose. Or a removal spell, to be fair. If they have a removal spell, they're also doing fine, though I guess Vicious Conquistador would put them to exactly 2 life with this Demonic Embrace, so yeah, I mean, they better have it, and it looks like they don't. Well, that's game number 2. Really quick one right there. Just slamming my opponent, got the dub. So we're running back for game 3, and on the draw, I especially need hand disruption. So on the draw, they're just going to be able to line up all the removal against my creatures really easily. I'm going to need some sort of hand disruption to disrupt that curve, and well, if hand has it, probably gonna want to play Knight of the Ebon Legion on turn 1 though? No. Because I can duress on turn 1, and then I can just play Scrap Heap Scoundrel on 2. That's a good 2-drop to play. What? Oh no. Okay, hold on. 2 Wrath of Gods, that's not good. Yikers. Yeah. Wow, that was dumb. I forgot that I did not have a swamp in play. I mean, it's not terrible though. I should play a Vicious Conquistador instead. It's fine. Attacks for a little bit less damage, but I think I'll survive. Yeah, so we'll get in. And we'll play a Safe Near Deadlands, and then we'll play out Scrap Heap Scoundrel, and I probably should have paid life there, but it's fine. And I'm actually just going to pass the turn here, because my opponent's most likely just going to cast their Wrath of Gods. I don't think there's any point in just getting my Knight of the Legion in the graveyard. Yeah. And the way this turned out, I just missed out on exactly 1 damage, and that's all. So it's honestly fine. And here, let me just pay a little bit more life. Or, no. I actually want to pay life. And I have this Castle Lockdown as well, which is going to be good into the late game if we get to that point. But for now, I'm just going to play this Scourge of the Skyclaves, Reanimate Scrap Heap Scoundrel on end step. This means that if they want to Teferi Tuck, that's not going to go too great for them. Waffling End will do the trick. And now the real important thing to do here is to make sure they can't safely land a Teferi. Because if they can do that, they'll just take over the game. As soon as they get to untap with Teferi, I might as well concede in most games. Because then they could just like find a removal spell, they're going to have extra mana, everything's just going to be going great for them, and that's not good when I'm trying to win the game against my opponent. Looks like they have a removal spell here, but then I'm just going to play 3 creatures, so that's probably going to be pretty good. Oh, no removal spell, that's actually really good, because this means that my Scourge of the Skyclaves actually ends up being really big. And I'm going to go to 14 here, but I might not have to pay after that, since I'll be lower than my opponent anyway, unless they die, in which case I don't really have to worry about paying anyway. And I do want to start activating the Castle Lockdown at some point, or potentially if the game gets to that point. And I will actually have a bunch of cards in hand most likely, so I do want to make sure I have enough life to actually do that. Interesting to see a Shark Typhoon here, cycle for 0, signifies that my opponent is in a lot of trouble, since it's not a good play. They'd really like to just chump block with it, but I will very much take that. That's definitely a decent swing in my advantage, though. I guess I have a second Shark Typhoon here. Somewhat unfortunate. Could see a chump on Scoreless Skyclaves or a trade. Interesting what they do here. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pump Knight of the M Legion. I guess this means that I don't get to activate Castle Lochthwain. That's fine, though, I think. Because I actually have things to do with my mana. Boom. And I get to put them to 5 here. And I'm going to play the land, because if they have a Wrath, then I get to reanimate Scrapheap Scoundrel, put them to 2, and then cast Aghanim Awakening, bring back 2 more creatures. And they're going to have another Wrath. So, yeah, I mean, I was just putting too much pressure on my opponent from too many angles. Plus, the hand disruption early meant that they didn't have the second Wrath and they need it. And their mana troubles meant that we got there. So, that makes us, what, 2-2 overall in games, in matches, actually. Deck's pretty solid, I'd say. Definitely not the best deck in Historic, but a very cool deck. And I wish I'd actually played against Sultai, since this deck really, really is good against Sultai. I think. I haven't played too many matches, but really the only problem is that Uro sort of wrecks you, because Uro gains your opponent life. So Uro will actually end up like killing your own creatures, weirdly, if you don't play around it. Annoyingly. Very much annoyingly. But past that, I mean, this deck's has to be pretty good against Sultai, because it's got a lot of the elements. And just excuse me I'm trying to like set this up in a way where my face isn't blocking it, and this arena interface is truly atrocious. Okay, so we need to do this, right? And then we'll have separate piles for all that, and then we'll do this, and then maybe I'll just like edit that out of the video. I don't know, but yeah, come on, please, just embarrassing me in front of my audience. Or actually, I'm embarrassing me in front of my audience. What am I doing? Okay, please just there we go. Okay, we got there, sort of. Easy. Never didn't have it. Okay, we're just gonna like scoot you over here, and yeah, so that's the deck. And it's good. Like, I definitely recommend check it out. It's pretty fun. I would say for playing the deck, consider cutting at least 2 Shocklands, as we saw in some of the games there. It ended up being a downside occasionally against Gruul aggro, especially. And Gruul aggro is on a bit of an uptick, so definitely consider doing that. And yeah, that's going to be it from me. I thank you all so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed, because it definitely helps get the video into other people's recommendeds, and you can get notified when my videos go live. All of that also makes me happy, seeing those numbers tick up. And that's it for me. I will see you next video. Goodbye.